Bless you.
I'm going to place you under oath. Sir, do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in the penalty of perjury?
Yes, Your Honor.
Have a seat. And if you'd begin by introducing yourself to our jury by stating your name and spelling your name for our record, please.
Detective Manuel Romero with the Santa Fe Police Department. First name Manuel, last name Romero.
Mr. Lowe.
Thank you, Your Honor. What do you do for a living?
I work with the Santa Fe Police Department.
And do you have a rank?
Yes, I'm currently a detective.
All right. How long have you been with the Santa Fe Police Department?
Just over 8 years.
Any prior law enforcement experience before that?
No.
Were you on duty on October 29th, 2022?
Yes.
And were you a detective on that date?
I was not. I was assigned to the day shift patrol.
And were you called out to 5941 Jaguar Drive?
I was.
When you first arrived at that location, were there other officers present?
Yes. When I first arrived at that location, I believe I was the third officer on scene.
Okay. Without saying anything that you heard from the other officers, where were you positioned with the other officers?
So I initially parked almost directly in front of the residence off of Jaguar Drive.
Okay. And were there other people around? Was there a crowd gathered, anything like that?
I don't remember seeing a crowd. I do remember seeing the other two officers that were there initially with me, Officer Alvarado and Officer Arroyo.
Okay. And as part of your job as a police officer, were you attempting to figure out what was going on?
Yes.
What were your actions to try to figure out what was going on?
Initially, try to figure out where the crime scene was the primary function that we were trying to figure out.
Okay. And did you confirm the address on the house?
Yes. So the three of us eventually made it to the back of the residence. There was some initial confusion. I contacted dispatch and requested that they clarify if we were at the correct residence.
Okay. And at some point, did you open up or did someone else open up the garage?
Yes.
What, if anything, did you see inside the garage?
So when the garage was opened, I saw the deceased Grace just in front of that door. So for clarification, the house and the garage, there's it's a detached garage. So when we got that door initially opened, I seen the deceased. At some point in time, I pushed a little bit further into the garage. It looked like it had been converted into like a makeshift bedroom. So it's very difficult to navigate trying to get all the way into the garage. But I did observe, so it had been to the right of the door. It was, I guess, a table or a dresser of some sort. I don't exactly recall. But there was a sword on that item.
Okay. Now, Detective, you said that you pushed into the garage. What do you mean by that?
Like I tried to get further into the garage.
Okay. Was there anything stopping you?
Yes, like I said, it was converted. It appeared to be converted into like a makeshift bedroom, but there was trash, there was clothing, there was all sorts of items.
Okay. And so were those items preventing you from opening up that door all the way?
I don't recall if we could open the door all the way or not. To my recollection, the door was opened pretty wide.
Okay, then were those items preventing you from walking all the way into the garage?
Yes, and also there was the deceased that was almost directly right there by the door as well.
Okay, great. When As a police officer, do you typically wear a body-worn camera?
I do.
Okay. You don't have one on today, though, do you?
I do not.
Okay. But as a patrol officer, you typically do have a body-worn camera, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And on October 29th, 2022, did you have your camera on?
Yes.
And do you know if your camera was recording?
It was.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness?
May.
So, Detective, I'm going to hand you what has been marked as State's Exhibit 5. Would you please take a look at this?
Yes, sir.
And you recognize that?
Yes.
How do you recognize it?
I reviewed this.
Okay.
CD.
And when you reviewed it, after you reviewed it, did you do anything to the
Yes.
What did you do?
I initialed and dated the CD.
Okay. And other than audio being removed, is it a fair and accurate representation of some of your body-worn camera footage from that day in question?
Yes, it is.
At this point, I would move State's Exhibit 5 into evidence.
Any objection to 5?
No objection, Your Honor.
Without objection, 5 is admitted. Mr. Lowe?
Permission to approach and publish?
Yes.
Indicate, would you have to press a button? What do you have to do?
There's a couple ways that our body cameras will initiate. One of them is by us actually tapping the button. The other is with our lights. I'm not positive how this body camera was activated that day.
Okay. But it's actually going to record you actually driving to the scene.
Yes.
Now, noticed that your gun is drawn. Why is your gun drawn?
Due to the nature of the call.
And where on your body is your camera placed?
Typically about chest level.
Okay. So wherever your chest is pointing, then that is where your camera is pointing. Is that the idea?
Yes.
Okay. Now, without saying anything that anybody is saying, what is happening right now?
So at this point in time, this is part of that clarification process that I testified to, where I was contacting dispatch and ensuring that we were at the correct address.
And did the residents of the house, did they appear surprised to see police?
Yes, the mother was very surprised.
And at this point, what is happening?
The deceased is discovered in there. And then there's some communication. I think I communicate with dispatch a little bit about getting paramedics and informing them of what's going on.
Do other officers arrive on the scene?
Yes, multiple officers.
Now, without saying what anybody is saying, what is happening in this scene?
There is some discussion about how to properly clear the structure.
And when you say how to properly clear, when you say to clear the structure, what do you mean by clear it?
Yes, to get into the structure, ensure that there's nobody else, things like that.
Okay. And at this point, has another agency arrived on the scene?
Yes, those are the paramedics, firefighters with the city.
All right. And do you know if they were able to provide any life-saving measures?
I do not.
So it looks like you've switched your placement to sort of in the doorway of the main house without saying what anyone is saying, what is occurring.
Yes, I'm asking one of the residents to exit the home, and then in a short time you'll see that she's detained.
Are you able to see what is on that person's shirt?
Some writing. This is my happy place.
Okay. And do you know who that person is?
Yes,
Who is that?
Kiara McCulley.
Okay. And then the other person not with any of the agencies, do you know who that person is?
Yes.
Who is that?
That is Lanny McCulley, the mother of Kiara.
What is happening here?
She's putting on shoes.
And when you say she, who do you mean?
So the mother's going to help Kiara here in a bit put on her shoes.
So based on the circumstances, why is Lanny McCulley having to help Kiara put shoes on?
Based off of the information and the deceased that was just located, all of this coupled together, we had reason to believe that Kiara was involved.
Okay. So were handcuffs placed on her?
Yes.
And until she was someplace secure, were those handcuffs going to come off?
Yes. Once we arrived at the Santa Fe Police Department.
Okay. At this point, are you or anyone else asking any questions of Lanny McCulley or Kiara McCulley?
At this point in time, no. I think the only conversation that I may have had with her would been obtaining her personal information, either here or a little bit later.
And what's happening? What happened right there?
I was directing her outside of the property back to the front where my vehicle was so that I could seat her in there.
So I want to talk a little bit about the procedure that you take before you put someone into your vehicle. Do you pat them down or do you frisk them?
Yes. So I believe there was 2 initial times where I did like a quick pat search of her. I would pull her out of my vehicle at a later point in this video and completely check her person for anything once we're getting ready to get transported.
Okay. And did you find anything on her person?
I don't recall finding anything on her.
If you had found anything on her person, would you have let her keep it or would you have confiscated it?
It depends on what it was. If it was like personal effects, say ID wallet, typically we'll take possession of it, but then we will book them into the jail with it and they'll get it at a later time.
Okay. And at this point, are you taking down identifying information from Kiara McCulley?
Yes, this is what I had spoken to about gathering her identifying information.
So did you eventually take Kiara McCulley to the police station?
Yes, I transported her myself.
All right. Did you have any contact at all with anyone by the name of Isaac Apodaca that day?
I recall seeing him at the police department. I don't think we had any conversation or anything.
Once you got to the police station with Kiara McCulley, what, if anything, did you do with her?
Yes, we have a holding cell. I placed her in the holding cell, turned on the camera for that holding cell. And then sometime later, when detectives requested to interview her, then I escorted her up to one of our interview rooms.
Okay. Permission to approach the witness?
Yes.
And Detective, I'm going to hand you what has been marked as State's Exhibit number 6. Please take a look at that. Do you recognize that?
Yes,
What is it?
it is another CD that I also reviewed.
Okay. And in your review of it, is that absent the audio, is that a fair and accurate representation of more of your body-worn camera footage from October 29th, 2022?
Yes, it is.
At this point, I'll move State's Exhibit number 6 into evidence.
No objection, Your Honor.
6 is admitted without objection. Counsel, if you'd approach before we go on. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a question that probably a number of you have been wondering about, but we got from a juror. The question is, why has the body of the body cam footage been removed? Evidentiary rules. You've heard the statement hearsay. Hearsay is defined as an out-of-court statement that is offered to prove the truth of something, okay? There's a lot of conversation. You can see the conversation going on. Unlike what you can observe directly, those statements coming from the officers are their impressions, their conclusions about things that may or may not even be accurate. And so the language has been removed. You're able to view what the officers were viewing because that is relevant evidence for you to consider. But their statements and other information that they may or may not have. You've heard questions here about what was known at the time the officers arrived. Again, that's just what information they had that they were operating under. Again, it may or may not have been completely accurate. But with respect to the actual video, the audio that's on the video, that is why it has been redacted, as the rules of evidence apply to that evidence as well as everything else that happens in court. Mr. Long, you may continue.
Thank you, Judge. Permission to approach the witness?
You may. And this is 6?
This is 6.
Okay, go ahead.
So where is this occurring right now that we're watching?
This is us arriving at the Santa Fe Police Department.
Okay. And without saying what, if anything, she may have said, what was Miss McCulley's demeanor when you were taking her to the police station?
She seemed relatively calm.
And where is she headed right now?
This is the holding cell at the Santa Fe Police Department.
And what are you doing right here?
This is the camera view from inside the holding cell, so I'm just logging into the system to start the recording.
And as a common practice for you, at least when someone goes into the holding cell, for you to turn on that recorder?
Yes.
And is the holding cell, is that audio and video, or is it just video?
It's both.
All right. I pass the witness.
Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. Good afternoon, Detective.
Good afternoon, sir.
You, when did you become a detective?
I was promoted approximately 3 years ago. Actually in the role, maybe a year and a half.
Okay, so at the time of this incident, you were a patrol officer?
Yes.
Okay, well, congratulations.
Thank you.
Alvarado was promoted as well, right?
Yes.
Was everybody promoted that day?
I think he was promoted sometime before me.
Oh, okay. Well, congratulations on the promotion. I just had a couple quick questions I wanted to clear up. When you, it looks like you were the third person who went through that gate. Am I correct in that, or were you the second?
No, I believe I was the third.
Did you ever lay eyes on Miss McCulley before she went into her house?
I did not.
So the only one who saw her, to your knowledge, would be Alvarado?
I believe so.
Okay. Were you aware at the time that you went through that gate, were you aware that he had seen somebody?
Yes.
How did you become aware of that?
I believe he verbalized it.
And in what way?
I think he just said, hey, somebody went back into the house.
Okay. If you hear something like that and you start going into the backyard at that point, do you expect to see someone there?
Did I expect to see someone
Yes.
there? Based off of his statement, no, he said they had gone back to the house.
Okay. All right. So you were advised at that point that that person had gone back to the house?
Yes.
Okay. Would you consider that fleeing?
Would I consider that fleeing?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a very complex question. Just based off of that alone, maybe not.
Okay. And when you're walking, well, let me ask you, what kind of training do you have with regards to, are you DRE qualified or DUI qualified?
I'm qualified to do DWIs. I am not qualified as a DRE.
Okay. And a DRE is what?
A drug recognition expert. It takes a lot more training.
Okay. Well, when you were walking with Miss McCulley to the police car, did you notice any signs of intoxication?
In terms of alcohol, I did not smell alcohol on her person.
Okay, and you had said that you're not DRE qualified. Is there a time where you understand that you need a DRE expert to help you out with something?
Yeah, absolutely. There's times where they would be relevant.
Okay, so would you have needed a DRE person in this particular instance?
That did not cross my mind. I'm not sure where I would need them.
All right. And I think you had said that you made contact, or at least you saw Isaac Apodaca at the police department, correct?
Yeah, I believe I saw him at some point.
But you never saw him at the scene?
I did not.
Now, with regard to when you entered the scene, Alvarado starts kicking the door. What was the demeanor of the person on the other side of the door?
Shocked.
And when she came out, it's our understanding that she gave you guys the keys to open the garage door. Is that correct?
Yes.
Did you see where she got them?
The keys?
Yes.
I did not see where she grabbed them from.
And was it just one key or was it on a keychain or?
That I don't recall.
Okay. And that door, do you know how it unlocks?
I did not unlock that
You
door.
didn't unlock that door yourself?
I did not.
So it was the guy with it looked like he was wearing a green uniform.
Yes.
He was the one who unlocked it.
Yes.
What was his name?
Alejandro?
Oh, was
Arroyo?
that Arroyo? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay, and this is 5941 Jaguar Drive.
Yes.
This was, and it's on October 29th of 2022, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know what happened to that key after the garage door was open?
I do not know.
And you had mentioned during your direct testimony that the garage door had been converted into a bedroom. Is that right?
That's what it appeared to be to me.
And so when they convert something into a bedroom, where's the garage door itself? Is it just closed off?
I don't think so. I think the garage door was still on the other side, like the actual, I believe.
The other side of the room from where the entrance was?
Yes, this was just a standard door where I actually made entrance.
Okay. Now, with regard to making that entrance, you had said that it was a little bit difficult to push the door open. Is that correct?
I said when I tried to go in there was just a lot of stuff in the room, making it difficult to actually walk into that garage.
Okay, and so when you say walk in, I'm trying to differentiate between pushing the door open itself, getting it open, or just being able to walk into the garage. Are you saying that it was hard to walk into the garage because of clutter?
Yes, our intention, or my intention, was to walk into the garage.
And it wasn't the door that blocked you, it was just the clutter?
There was just a lot of stuff.
Okay. But the door opened itself?
Yes, the door was open.
Okay. And was it open wide enough for Ms. McCulley to walk through it?
I believe that even I was able to walk a little bit into the garage, but then of course, because of all the stuff, it limited my ability to go further in.
Yeah, when you say stuff, you're talking about the stuff on the ground or all the stuff you wear?
No, all the stuff that was in there, their personal effects.
And did you see that sword?
I did.
And can you describe it for the jury?
I don't remember exactly what it looks like. I would estimate that it's probably about 4 feet long with a standard handle.
Okay, you didn't touch it either, right?
I did not.
And you do that to preserve evidence?
What's that?
You don't touch evidence so that it's preserved properly?
Yes.
And did you, at some point in time, you cleared that house, right?
The main residence?
Yes, sir.
I never went into the main residence, to my recollection. I ended up leaving with Miss McCulley.
Okay, so they made entrance into the main residence after you walked away.
I believe it was after I left.
All right. And after you brought Miss McCulley to the police department, you had stated that you checked her a couple times before you put her in your unit?
I actually checked her prior to transporting her to the police department.
And then after you get her out of your unit, do you then check your unit?
Typically, yes.
Do you recall if you did that in this case?
I don't believe I did.
And what kind of, when Miss, so did you identify the woman who actually gave you guys the keys?
I don't know if she provided her information to myself or another officer.
Do you recall her name?
Yes.
What is it?
Lanny
McCulley?
McCulley.
And was she pretty excited? Her demeanor, what was she like?
When we got there and her door was being kicked in, she was, I don't know how to describe, maybe alarmed. She seemed shocked at what was happening.
And did she make any statements to you while she was under those emotions?
She was asking what we were doing and why her door was being kicked in.
And after she came out of the house, was she still alarmed?
Yes, absolutely.
And did she say anything to you at that point in time while she was under the influence of those emotions?
She was asking questions. I remember we had informed her that there was a crime scene. Nobody was to go back into the main residence or the garage. And she had inquired as to why.
Do you remember the words she used?
I don't remember them verbatim, but I did inform her that there was a deceased individual in there, and she seemed surprised by that. And she essentially repeated what I had said, was there's a dead body in there.
And did she tell you anything about somebody's having spent the night before?
That was a conversation that I had observed between her and Kiara.
Okay. So you just overheard that?
Yes, that was a conversation that I overheard between the two.
Okay. And on that video that we were watching, that was your body cam, correct?
Yes.
And it looked like now Detective Alvarado was pointing at Miss McCulley's hands. Do you recall that?
Yes.
What was he pointing at, if you know?
She had some bandages on her hands.
Did you see how many bandages she had on her hand?
I don't remember the number. I did remember seeing the bandages on her hands.
But more than one?
Yes, I would say so.
Okay. During any of this time, did Kiara ever tell you that Isaac Apodaca made her kill this young lady?
Hearsay.
Can I rephrase it, Your Honor?
Objection sustained in that form. Go ahead.
During any of the time when, well, I guess, was Kiara ever at a point where she was excited?
I don't know if I would classify her emotions as excited. She's, like I said, she seemed relatively calm.
And that was during the whole time?
Yes.
Okay. And what about Lonnie? Did she make any mention as to who might have done this while she was under the influence of those emotions?
Objection, hearsay.
Sustained.
Was there ever, well, Did you ever arrest Lonnie McCulley?
Did I never arrested her, no.
Okay, so she was never a suspect?
No, not to my knowledge.
Kiara was the only suspect you had at that time?
Yes.
And later on, Mr. Apodaca became a suspect?
That was due to an investigation that was beyond my scope at the time.
Okay.
Kiara was a suspect at that time based off of what the knowledge I had at that time.
And you didn't see Mr. Apodaca at the scene, right?
I did not.
Okay. May I have just a second, Your Honor? May I have just a second, Your Honor? Thank you. And if you can remember, do you remember what Ms. McCulley's behavior was like while she was in the holding cell?
That I don't remember.
Did you stand there and watch her, or did you have to walk away and do paperwork?
Typically, that's what we do, and then we have a screen, so look here and there just to monitor her. But I probably was doing paperwork at the time.
So you just monitor and make sure nothing's going on?
Yeah, briefly checking in and out.
And you didn't see anything out of the ordinary?
Not that I recall, no.
Okay. That's a pretty complicated system. You're very tech savvy, by the way. But thank you. I have nothing further.
Redirect.
Nothing on redirect, but we will reserve him for rebuttal.
Okay. So you're being reserved, which means the attorneys may recall you later in the trial. Don't discuss your testimony with anyone. Don't seek out any information from any source about what has been testified to or about the case.
Yes, Your Honor.
But you may step down.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll go ahead and take our afternoon recess at this time. If you'd probably about 15 minutes. If you'd go back with the bailiff, take your notes with you, and we'll call you back in and continue with evidence. In recess.
All right.
Outside the hearing and presence of the jury, anything before we go off the record for our break?
Judge, very briefly, the next witness that the state is planning on calling is going to be Linda Montoya. She is the defendant's mother. She is going to essentially, based on my limited questions to her, confirm a phone call from the defendant early on in the morning, the phone call from the defendant, then her phone call to 911, and then I have 11 DVDs that she has authenticated as to voice, as to her voice and the defendant's voice. Those phone calls are jail phone calls. They've been disclosed to defense, but just so everyone is aware, it is coming out that the defendant is in custody.
With regard to those subjects, counsel, any concerns or issues?
Judge, I mean, I would, Judge, just based on, I think because, we worked hard to make sure that the jury doesn't know that he's in custody. I think it's prejudicial, and that prejudicial value outweighs the probative nature of those calls, Your Honor, so I would object to those being introduced.
We've taken steps to make sure he's in street clothes and that he's comes and enters the courtroom not in cuffs or anything like that. With respect to I don't know the content of these phone calls, so let's have that conversation. Everyone, you can have a seat, please. Okay. With respect to the communications on those calls, Mr. Long, what's its relevance to the issues?
It will be drastically trimmed down, and so I think some of the discussion or the what we're looking for is going to be, it's all going to be relevant to the case. It's all going to be relevant to things that he has said, things that he is claiming, all of that type of stuff. We are not planning on getting into any of the content with Ms. Montoya today. It would actually be the analysis or the actual publication of that content would be through Sergeant Behill. So today is just simply her authenticating that it is her voice and his voice, and the last four digits of her phone number are certain four numbers.
So Judge, if there's a way we can get it in without having to make, without the voice tell system and all that, making the jury understand that he's in custody. I've been waiting for the state to send me the exact recordings that they're going to be using, but I think anything to do with him being in custody, I think should be redacted, and if the state can introduce that through another means, then I think that can eliminate the prejudicial nature.
And maybe if I can just offer a suggestion that I can just get out through her that they're recorded calls. We will not mention that he's in jail, and then I think that might deal with any of the concern from defense.
And has she listened to these? I'm assuming she has.
She has listened to them. She's confirmed that they're her voice and his voice. So
And they're not going to be offered
today,
through her?
Through her, no, absolutely not. We were just, she is simply, well, we're going to move them into evidence through her as to what they are, but we aren't planning on publishing them today. I will actually, I can get defense exactly the portions that we are planning on introducing so that they can, get those objections. But that, I think, at soonest is going to be Friday when we would do that. So I can get them to him probably later tonight.
Thank you.
Hold on, listen. I'm gonna have a couple questions and I'll let you respond and voice any other concerns you have. Are there transcripts of those pieces, of those, you said there's 11 conversations?
There's 11 conversations. I think probably the longest one, all of the phone calls they're 14 minutes, or about 14 minutes, 20 seconds, something like that. I would say the longest portion is probably going to be about 2 minutes, so there's just going to be a chunk within the phone call, and within each one of those 11 that we're planning on using.
And you don't have, again, I'm trying to evaluate the probative nature as opposed to the prejudicial effect. A couple of things possible, but it doesn't sound like the groundwork has been done. One is you could stipulate, the parties could stipulate. If you're not going to stipulate, then we have to talk about how, if they are introduced, we remove as much of the negative inference because the conversations are taking place while he's in custody. So usually at the beginning of every one of those calls is the Axon, not Axon, but the, I forget who the vendor is now that has says that this is a call from a detention facility.
And the state's plan was to remove all of that and literally just have the audio of the relevant portions. And so, I mean, we're not going to have the conversation on the dogs or what we had for breakfast, any of that. It's just going to be the relevant portions.
Okay, and again, the relevant portion, since I don't know what that content is, I don't know what it's relevant to.
I can briefly go over some of them. So in one of them, the defendant says that the text message, the verbiage, the wordage, or how I used it, most texts don't match the same way I text these. They said it was a willful act to commit, but they are seriously doubting that I was part of it. Another one is the day which everything happened, I told her that I didn't think anything was going to happen. Another one, she, meaning Kiara, is trying to switch up the story to say that I helped her. I did not help her. They said there were text messages, but they weren't even mine. If you were able to see the text messages, you would be able to tell that this is so-and-so. This is Kiara talking. It's just messed up that I'm dealing with a situation that she got me involved in. I have nightmares about what she did. The next one, I didn't plan. I don't get how I'm suddenly involved with this whole planning situation. The next one, well, that morning I just felt that something bad was going to happen, and that's why I called y'all to pick me up. I was trying to contact everybody on Facebook to help, but nobody responded back. And so I think that is literally, I believe, five out of the 11. So I think, as everyone can see, they are very, very truncated. And so, you know, that is, as I said, 5 of the 11. I think they are, I would say they are clearly relevant, clearly admissible under admission by a party opponent. So I think what we need to deal with is essentially the prejudice issue.
And again, just to make sure I'm clear and repeating back to you, what I understand is that she would testify to or acknowledge that she's had communication with him post-incident, and that these statements come from those recorded conversations.
Yes.
Okay. Counsel?
I mean, Judge, I think, and my concern, and you hit it on the head, as far as like in the beginning of those calls, they always say, you know, this is a call from Global Tellink or whatever, right? I mean,
My understanding is all that's going to be redacted out.
if that's redacted out, I mean, also we'd have to, you know, still concerned. I mean, I think they could bring that in maybe through testimony, but I mean, I would have to then reserve this amount of time and recall her to possibly explain the content of what was said, to provide context of what was going on in those calls, because this is, you know, because they're bringing in, they're just authenticating these through her, and I think they're calling her now because they're concerned. Well, I don't know where they're calling her now, but there's going to be a delay before they're introduced, and I'm going to have to, depending on how things play out, I would have to recall her in defense's case in chief to provide context to what was being said.
Okay. So every piece of evidence is prejudicial in some form or other. The question under our rule is whether or not it's unduly prejudicial, and whether or not that prejudice outweighs its probative value. Given what's been represented in the court, I find that it hasn't. You do have to redact out any automated statements or anything to indicate that the conversation is taking place with Mr. Apodaca in custody. The witnesses also need to be directed that they're not to volunteer that. If somehow that comes out, then we have different issues we need to address. And you were allowed to reserve those kinds of questions for your case in chief, counsel, if you don't want to do it as part of just getting those authenticated now in the state's case in chief, and you want to call her back after they're introduced or as part of your case, that's appropriate. Any need for additional direction or clarification, Mr. Long?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
For the defense?
I'll take it. Now, Amy, let's just hand it this. I mean, these jurors may overthink, and I'm concerned that people think, why would they're going to wonder why the conversation just recorded. They may I'm just concerned that this could open up, go down a road.
I agree there's a potential risk there, but I mean, if there is a statement or if there is something on one of the recordings that identifies that he's in custody, then we'll have that conversation at that point in time. But the mere chance that it might happen until that comes to fruition, if it ever happens at all, is not a basis to exclude at this point.
I'll have to hear that, and sometimes I think there's also background noise and echoes and things that could sound like it's coming from a holding cell.
You have these, right? You have all these calls?
I have all that, but I'm still waiting for what.
Do you have what's redacted, Mr. Long?
They are not redacted yet. That will happen later on today. I actually do. I have the text written out, and so I can trim that down even further so that he knows exactly which calls are coming from, the minutes that we're planning on clipping out.
And with respect to the witness to be able to identify the voice, how are you going to do that?
So she will confirm that, so she's listened to all 11 of the disc. She will then confirm that it is her voice on one end and that it is her son's, Isaac Apodaca's voice on the other end. That's it.
That's all she's gonna do,
That's it.
okay?
And I'll have, I mean, I really won't have a cross, I'll just have one statement that I reserve her.
That's fine, that's fine. Anything else?
Nothing from the state.
Okay, got about 5-10 minutes for a quick bathroom break and then we'll continue. We're off the record.
Thank you.